No special intro today for One Piece chapter 1170 because I was right. I was so right that I can't believe it. Okay, so you're going to get some gloating, but then you'll get some humility. Okay, so on January 7th, 2023, I said that it was possible that Usopp could get a real giant hammer, and that giant's hammer would most likely be a squirrel that is Ratatasker. I say this beat for beat, bar for bar. In this chapter, we find out that Ragnar is indeed a squirrel Zoan, and he has been guarding the legendary Devil Fruit of Elbaf forever, apparently. Oh man, I'm over the moon, boys. I'm over the moon. I called this 2 years ago. 2 years ago. Almost 3 years ago. That is amazing. I am just flabbergasted that I was so right. So in this video, you'll have a whole playlist that you can watch of me making several videos about this squirrel hammer concept, because I made it quite a few. And the most recent one is where I compare Ragnar to Pikachu, and that was correct, because the squirrel in question, as we see in this chapter, which is Ragnar, is a cutie patootie. And to top it all off, when we actually see Ragnar transform, he's like a half squirrel, half hammer in that state, and it looks like he has a horn. And I said, like in Marvel Comics and in the original illustration, I believe way back when, from some text of some sort, it shows that Ragnar has a horn, and the hammerhead on Ragnar's squirrel head looks like a horn. So even in that way, I was right. The only thing that is hard to make out is if it's a flying squirrel. I don't know that yet, but of course we'll see more about Ragnar in the future. I do think, like I said in that original video, I do think he will strike up a relationship with Usopp, but I don't know how big the squirrel actually is, or if size matters. Because, as I've said many times before as well, even in that video, I believe, Zoans who are items are very strange when it comes to size and weight. Things get wacky, so I have no idea. But yes, I do think the squirrel is our next merchandise cow, like how Chopper is. I think that's going to be the case with Ragnar. But in this chapter as well, we find out where Loki's original hammer went. His original hammer was broken by Ragnar in his fight with Ragnar. And we also get to see Loki eat the legendary Devil Fruit of Elbaf. And it's regular Devil Fruit size. I don't know if I was expecting something larger, but yeah, that just seems weird to me. It looks like a little spiked fruit, which that looks so familiar, like we've seen it somewhere before. Now, time for some humility. So I was initially wrong about Loki being a paramecia fruit user. However, in the videos in which I talk about him having the paramecia ability to shrink things, the shrinking power is still on the table. Just because he's not a paramecia doesn't mean he can't have a shrinking ability, because mythical Zoan fruit users, as they are described in the Road to Laugh-Tale, are Zoans with paramecia-like abilities. So he could still have the power to shrink himself and other objects. And I think that could go into some further lore that we're going to get into in a second. But I do think, based on Killingham having the dragon fruit model Kieran, and that has the ability to make him into a dream manifestation man, and he can make living constructs from the dreams of the people of Elbaf, I think anything is possible for Loki. Now, in terms of Loki being Fenrir, we're all dogged out on Elbaf. We've got the actual Fenrir from the dream manifestations of Killingham. Then we've got the dog that's originally from Strong World, who is here in Elbaf with the rest of the Strong World animals. And then on top of that, we had Shamrock's sword, who ate the Cerberus fruit, and that's a bit of a allegory or similar character to Fenrir, I think. So I don't think we're going to have any more dogs, people. We're all dogged out. There are no more dogs. However, getting back to Killingham's weird dream manifestations, there was a Nidhogg, and in One Piece, supposedly, the Nidhogg is some sort of dragon, a Western style dragon. And in One Piece, the Western style dragon is the true dragon, apparently. Looking at the several dragons that we see on Punk Hazard, namely Dragon 13 and the smaller Dragon 21. So the Nidhogg looked like Dragon 13, and most likely based on the nightmare creatures being based on the dreams and ideas of the people of Elbaf, most likely in lore, the Nidhogg is a dragon and not a serpent. So we're going with a dragon here. With that being said, it's very likely that Loki ate the dragon fruit mythical model Nidhogg. And the reason why I say that is because in Norse mythology, the Nidhogg is at the bottom of the world tree, and his counterpart is the eagle, who is at the top of the world tree, and Ratatoskr runs up and down said world tree, stirring up gossip between both. Which is why I say in that video that I think he'll get along with Usopp because he's a bit of a liar like Usopp. So I don't think Loki is the eagle because we haven't even been to the heaven realm of Elbaf. We've only been to the sun realm and the underworld. However, with that being said, Loki is a child of the underworld. His mother threw him into the underworld as soon as he was born. So he was born in it, raised by it. So it only makes sense that he becomes the underworld's representative truly by eating this devil fruit and becoming a Nidhogg. Now, keeping that in mind, does he have a bird equivalent technically? Yes, he does, because I don't think we're going to see another bird character to be our metaphorical eagle equivalent in One Piece. I think that eagle equivalent is Biblo. And the reason why I think Loki has a shrinking power now as a Nidhogg, presumably, is because Biblo is the opposite, as Biblo has a paramecia type devil fruit that allows him to grow things. So I could see that Loki's dragon fruit mythical model Nidhogg allows him to shrink things. I could see that being the case in the future, just to be kind of, I guess, rhyming, as the one up top grows things and the one below shrinks things. And we don't really know where Biblo comes from. So Biblo could have been an original resident of the Heaven Realm and now just resides in the Owl Library within the Sun Realm. Also, in terms of ideals, Loki and Biblo are very dynamically opposed, because Biblo, in being in the Owl Library, is a representation of education and moving Elbaf in a different direction, whereas Loki is a representation of Elbaf's old ideals, as he still has the heart of a warrior. And even his very biology is dynamically opposed to these ideals represented by Biblo, because he is most likely the purest of pure when it comes to giants. He not only has horns representative of the ancient giants, but he also has those weird eyes that no other giant in the series has. So he is the original culture of Elbaf. With that being said, too, it's very interesting that Biblo and Ragnir are possibly some of the oldest beings on Elbaf at this point. So it's going to be very interesting to see if they have a relationship, seeing as how both of them are way older than everyone else, presumably, possibly centuries upon centuries old, even older than Jarl. So I could see a lot of interesting developments happening. And like I said in that Pikachu video, I can't wait for Chopper to talk to Ragnir as a squirrel and get Ragnir's opinion, because Chopper has the miraculous ability to turn animal characters into real characters by telling the audience their thoughts. So that in itself is pretty cool. However, we also get some more lore about Shanks and his relationship to the Holy Knights, because supposedly as Shanks and Gaban are fighting Harold, Gaban says that they had many encounters with the Holy Knights back in the day when Shanks was on Roger's ship, as they kept trying to get Shanks back. And of course, they would use Conqueror's Hockey on them and send them packing every time. So we know that Conqueror's Hockey is the bane of those affected by Emu, presumably because we know that Devil Fruit powers are weak to Haki. So that just confirms to you that this whole immortality business is an effect of a Devil Fruit. I don't know if people have put that together or not, but that is the case most likely based on what we know. Now, with that being said too, we end off the chapter with Loki giving Harold the death blow, and Harold imparts some kind words onto Loki saying that he should get along with his brother and he should keep Elbaf safe as its king. However, I don't think that he will, simply because the one with all the kingly ambition and the one who wants to unite giants from all corners of the world is his older brother, Hadruden. And honestly, with him being the older brother, he should have claim to the throne over his younger brother, Loki. And quite frankly, with Loki being considered worthy of the Devil Fruit, which we got a little bit of Marvel Comics in there, because worthiness was often associated with the hammer when it comes to Thor. However, in this case, the hammer deems a person worthy of eating the Devil Fruit. And Harold, possessed by the Depths Covenant, thought with his newfound strength and his mind being addled by Emu's influence, he thought he could overtake Ragnir and take the fruit for himself. However, Loki did that on his own with Conqueror's Haki, presumably. So with that being said, yes, Loki really is him, and he's very, very interesting. However, like a squirrel, won't you scurry and get me a nut by clicking that subscribe button, clicking that like button, and if you can find it, please click that bell so you never miss a Poly P Works video. In addition, store those nuts by clicking the hype button. It's very much appreciated. However, to continue. So we don't really know the nature of Ragnir yet. I do think that it's a raw Ratatoskr fruit with the ability to summon lightning somehow. I don't think it's a regular squirrel. That just doesn't seem plausible to me based on all of what it can do. But yes, Loki kills Harold, and Harold once again ends off with saying that the most important thing is that Elbaf's future is secure. So that is the end of our chapter, and that's all the important points in the chapter. I am still over the moon and amazed that I called this nearly 3 years in advance. Thank you so much for watching. Give me your thoughts and tell your friends about Polypede Works.